Hello, welcome to another tutorial video. What we're going to be looking at now is the A and the C grade responses side by side so you can see the difference more clearly. Now, although you may have watched the A and the C and seen how they link directly to the band descriptors and perhaps watched the examiner's feedback and actually heard technically why we get different things. The reason we're going to look at them side by side now is so you can actually see the differences and develop them. And sometimes just different people learn in different ways, so this might be more useful. If you really feel like you've got an A kind of locked down in your head already from the other videos, then by all means then move on to you move your revision onto something else. But I think that looking at this for a lot of people is going to make a really interesting comparison. So remember that this is our retrieval question, and what do we learn about Ben Leach's article about the issues and concerns. So we're looking to pull out things and infer. That's the key thing we're trying to do here. We're trying to pull out things, support it, and build inferences from them. So with the C grade one, we got the marks because we picked things out and we were very static in what we said. We just reworded the ideas that were coming across in the article. We didn't develop them in any way. So as you see here, even in the things that we picked up, look where the quotations are. Here we have a number of just the fact that it's 14. That's a very short factual quotation that's picked up. Here is a more descriptive one, and then there's a little more comment on what's going to be done with it. Whereas over across here, you'll find that there is a summary of what's going on in and of itself. So the ideas that are actually coming through here are extended, okay? So they have actually mentioned the 14 wind farms as well, but they've actually saying meaning this, and it's picked up a little more. So in the idea of whether it was protected or not protected. So if you're looking to develop, you can kind of build into your answer better and then extend your answer for longer, because here he just said that's going to happen, whereas here it said cross-referencing part of the article because it was called a protected area, and then extending it slightly further by actually saying what this means. So the inference here is that it's going to be damaging it for future generations, as well as no longer being truly protected, etc. So in picking out items like that, that's going to be one of the key things to actually moving yourself up towards an A. You infer more and then you develop it more. Secondly, then, when we look at things, we can see that this student here, or this A grade response, if we look at here, we've got the address of Bodmin Moor, which is mentioned here about the turbines. This person's only picked out one thing here in the C grade about it being bigger than Big Ben. But in this example here, we've got several things picked out, as well as the cross-referencing of other parts of the article in it. Now that is really clever because it's showing, or that's A grade, because it's showing that this student has looked at the entire piece and picked out stuff that supports what they're saying at any given time, whereas this person is just going through it chronologically. So basically what this says is, I saw this in paragraph A, I saw this in paragraph B, I saw this in paragraph 1, 2, I saw this in paragraph 3, etc., etc., etc. Not really cross-referencing it. But if we take these two as a good example, next to the picture Bodmin Moor, 415 feet, set of turbines has been approved, so that's one thing. Even though the move is staunchly opposed by the RSB, so that's two things. They feel it will damage and endanger the area as it has a huge impact. So that's three things and an inference, whereas here we pick out one thing. The turbines are explained to be very bigger than Big Ben, and it will ruin the views. So although that's that is actually an extension as well, because he's doing PEE, but here we've got one in the fact that it's 415 feet, and also two in that it's actually next to this place in particular. We've got three that it's staunchly opposed, four but who it's actually by, that they feel it was damaged, so that's 6, and then damage and endanger and have a huge impact. So there's a lot of things there, whereas here there's only 2. So you can see just the extension of cross-referencing different things and using more information from the article is going to show that we have a deeper understanding. Lastly, and again I did mention this quite a lot in the video, we're looking at the alternate point of view, but one guy from the British Wind Association has tried to explain the wind farms are needed and that people are complaining and have to think about a way of using better energy. That's neatly put, kind of clearly put, but it's not developed, okay? So what we get to here again is look at the quotations and how they're used. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 quotations to say exactly the same thing. So that's one of the things you probably be well off doing in this, is if you look for the paragraphs, and this is kind of why I've written them this way, is so you can actually cross-reference exactly the same thing and look at the same thing as a C to an A, as a C to an A. So that sentence there where we've only got one explanation and then a bit of inference, one quotation, then a bit of inference afterwards, here we've actually got it completely embedded and supported by the actual quotation, which just makes the answer so much more perceptive because you're linking all the things. So with regard to the alternate point of view, we learn that a member of the British Wind Energy Association has called for each wind farm's viability to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis because there are wider issues to consider, namely global warming and thus the need for cleaner energy. So the summary point there includes or encapsulates so much more, which is where you start to become more perceptive. So it's like kind of looking at something and saying that's a computer, or saying, looking at something and go, oh, that's a MacBook Pro, second generation, that's the one that had the first one to have the Intel Core processor, etc., etc., etc. So when you're looking at studying or analyzing or retrieving information, you want to try and be able to pick stuff out and cross-reference it as much as possible. And that's the main difference. The points here are almost the same. All the same points are going to be picked up, and that's going to happen. An article is only going to have so many points that you can actually reference. An A-grade student might infer a lot more, but they're not necessarily going to read a completely different article than you. They're going to be picking up they're going to be picking up the same points and having the same points to play with, but it's the way that they can then wield them and link them to the rest that's going to get them more marks. So we're going to go through this with all the other ones as well, and I hope you can see why we're doing it, even though it seems a bit laboured. If you want to, like I say, I should put these up on Facebook, actually. I put them up on Facebook, and then you can take them down and then really read over them and perhaps highlight the things that are actually similar and different to yourself, just as an exercise to make sure you get your head around it.